In this interview, I meet up with Krisna Guyton. She is the owner and founder of My Parenting Partners, a company that specializes in giving parents back time. She is a proud wife and a mother of three children aged 13, 11, and 14 months. Let's welcome Krishna. Hi, Krishna. Thank you for coming in today for our meeting. I'm so excited to have you.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I wanted to start off by asking, how difficult was it to adjust during the lockdown with the kids and, having a son who also is a unique learner, right? In your
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, it was not completely difficult. Being that I had systems in place that I'd already began incorporating learning time with my 1-year-old. It was already in place. So this was definitely a challenge in terms of now bringing in two additional kids, but being able to really spend that time, that extra quality time with them, really was an eye-opening experience for me, and something that I didn't realize that I was missing at during this time. So yeah,
Well, how did the kids adjust?
they adjusted okay. I would say that my 14-year-old, she was not really feeling it in the beginning because she definitely missed her friends and really missed that social interaction. However, as time progressed and she realized how devastating things were on the outside, she began to just really fall in place. However, my son, he, on the other hand, he seemed to transition better in the beginning. And then once time went on and he realized he wasn't seeing his teacher or his friends, he seemed to get a little bit more agitated. So just once they were able to incorporate the live lessons and he was able to see them on the screen, that really made the situation a lot better for us.
Mhm. It's harder when you have your son who is diagnosed with autism, right?
Yeah,
It's harder
yeah.
for a transition like this, but he was okay
He
on
was
his.
he ultimately was okay, but yeah, that definitely posed some obstacles because he's used to a certain routine.
Mhm.
So without preparation, a lot of times we'll even though he is nonverbal, we will communicate when something's coming up so that he's getting prepared for it. So having to really just within a blink of an eye just change, it did pose as a little bit of a delayed challenge for him, a delayed response, should I say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I wanted to ask about what is your upcoming plan, like for the school year? What's your plan? Are you going to
Okay,
keep them home or are you sending them back to school? How is that plan?
so really at this point, I don't feel that we are ready to re-enter. And when I say we, I mean we as in my family and as in the school system as a whole. I don't think that we're in a place where we're ready to re-enter the schools in an in-person type of learning environment. I am really paying attention to what the state officials are doing, and I believe that they are actually leaning towards a remote learning system in the fall. However, in the event that they decide that they want to try out going back into the in-person learning environment, then that will be a situation where I will decide to homeschool my children, at least until we can see what happens. So I am at this point preparing for what I feel will be the worst case scenario, and that is by talking to current homeschooling parents, trying to figure out where they're getting their curriculum. And I also have a day plan because I am still at the beginning stages. but I do have a day plan where I will, research the requirements and really get a plan going for the fall.
Yeah, and this summit will give you a lot of insight
Yeah,
into that, because that's the whole point of the summit, right? Because
absolutely.
I know parents like you, especially when you have us, your son, especially, right? When they're
Yes,
unique learners like that,
yes,
changes that are drastic like that is not easy change for parents or him, right? So you got to
absolutely.
kind of prepare in
Yes,
advance for him and front load him
yes.
as well, so he doesn't have the shock like, where's my school in September, like, am I going to school or not, right? So
Right.
yeah, it's very, very important. So this summit that was the reason for me starting this summit, was there's a lot of parents like you, right?
Yeah.
This so uncertainty is like bringing anxiety for parents,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Are you feeling that, like, I know you have systems, because we're going to talk about that soon, but
absolutely.
right, it's kind of
It does.
yeah,
It
go ahead.
there's different levels to it. It's anxiety because on the children's side, they are both reaching new milestones. They for us, graduating from fifth grade and graduating from eighth grade, then that means you're going to junior high and then you're going to high school. So both of them are entering into a whole new level of schooling. And so that causes anxiety because you're like, oh man, they're reaching this milestone, but it's not really safe. I don't feel that,
Mhm.
it's a good time for you to enter into school, even though this is really a big deal.
Mhm.
So I think that's where most of my anxiety or uncertainty comes in parenting as a whole.
Yeah, you're not alone. I can tell you that there's a lot of us feeling the same way, a lot of parents, right? So tell me about having systems in place. That's why I think you started My Parenting Partners, right? Tell me about
Absolutely.
why you started that.
So really, I started when I was working full time, and it really came about after feeling some frustration and working and coming home and feeling like I had another job because I had to cook, I had to clean, and then somehow squeeze in family time and go to bed and do it all over again. I was working a position that was not very satisfying. I worked as a nurse and a triage nurse at that. So I didn't have a lot of patient interaction, which is what I came into the field for. But at that particular time, I was on the phones. So it was emotionally draining.
Mhm.
And coming home to then have to do more work, what it felt like was more work, it was just too much. So I began to try to figure out a way to make my situation better. So I searched for programs that were designed specifically for parents, because as a nurse, there's so many programs that cater to the sick and the elderly, where you can get, access to resources, or even someone to come into the home and help with such things that I needed help with. And I couldn't find anything besides, I believe care.com was the closest, but it was still not specifically for just anything I needed. They more catered towards childcare, but I needed someone really to come in that was trained to help parents,
Yeah.
to come in and help me with the day-to-day task. So in the 21st century, when you don't have it, then you create it.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
that was kind of how things came about. I started talking to other parents, and they're like, man, I just really wish someone would come and help me clean, or someone can come help tutor my child. And being able to find that one central location, because you can go out and you can Google
Fine.
clean, or you can Google tutors, but having one central location for parents to come and get that one-to-one assistance with finding this ideal person. I mean, you can, you know, create this person. We would sit and we would go through everything that the parents wanted, down to personality, education, and experience. And we would come very, very, very close to what they wanted and what they needed and what would work for their family. So that's pretty much the gist of my parenting partners and how that came about. It came about as a result of a problem in my life and other moms and dads as well.
Yeah, yeah, and especially for nursing, right
Yes,
now, because they're the frontline workers.
fine.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. It's been overtime probably for a lot of them too, right? Their
yes,
family life struggle,
yes.
at that time. Yeah, so it's actually a very good program. And um, what do you provide through the Women Coaching Entrepreneurs for Mom? Like you provide a coaching service for
Yes, I do.
moms.
So me personally, which is an offset of my parenting partners, but I personally provide time management and organization coaching to mompreneurs. So whether they're entering into entrepreneurship or already established, I come in and I help with that aspect of it. There are a lot of programs and mentors and coaches and blueprints when it comes to building up a business. But when you have a family, it's different. It's not likely that you're just going to follow this and not feel stressed or overwhelmed, because there's another component that you have to take care of your family versus when you're single and doing it. So being able to have that intentional time that you are spending with your family, having that intentional time or dedicated time to focus on your business really helps to bring about, a balance,
Yeah.
and helps you to reach your goals a lot quicker without feeling stressed and overwhelmed.
So is that a one-on-one coaching you provide?
That is the one-on-one coaching currently that I provide, yes.
Awesome. And what do you mean when you say freedom plan? What does
So
that
the
look?
freedom plan is basically what we create. So the freedom plan generally consists of meal planning. It consists of cleaning schedules, your business schedules, and a family schedule. And what we generally will do is we'll sit down and we'll go in what I like to call a day in my shoes report. So we'll talk about what the day currently looks like, and then what goals that you need to meet in order to get your business to the level that you want it to be, and also meet the needs and demands of your family. And based on those goals, we reprioritize in order for the most important to the least important. And we spend each session creating an action plan to meet those goals, a realistic action plan to reach those goals. So one of those sessions will include, whether it's a priority or not, will include meal planning, because I found that that was also a big obstacle. We're coming and we're thinking, spending our time, what am I going to cook today? And versus having it already set out for us, it makes all the difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't have it, you might end up eating unhealthy stuff, right?
Unhealthy, or eating out, spending extra money
Honey.
because you're tired.
Yeah.
So I found that having that, even going down to the grocery list,
Yeah.
everything, we plan it down to the T.
Nice, nice. And how do you find balance with all of this? Like because you have three kids and you have a son who needs a lot of attention, probably your
Absolutely.
attention, right? Yeah.
Yes,
How do you balance it all? Was it
yes.
always good for you, or did you learn this?
I had to learn it. I had to learn. It was something that it took me going to a very low place in order for me to figure things out, almost into a deep depression, to
Mm,
where I figured that there's a change that needs to be made. And so just really what I realized is, one, is that I had to let go. I had to let go of feeling like I needed to be this perfect mom or this perfect human or woman, whatever. I had to let that go. And also, making sure that I, sorry, I have a few notes here. Okay. But also being able to make the changes when I needed to, being able to pivot. For example,
mhm,
today I had a plan, and I plan to work. I generally will wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll work from 5 o'clock until 7:30. That's when the children they're asleep.
Mhm.
And today I plan to do a little bit of work from 10 until 11, and then I believe 1 to 3 or something. So I had that plan, but the children, they just did not. That was not their plan today, and there was no way for me at that moment, the 10 o'clock spot, that it just didn't happen. So I had to let go. I had to also learn to submit to what is going on right then and there. My children wanted my attention, and so I had to stop and give them the attention that they needed and think about what I could do from there. So at that point, my husband generally will go on his break from 12 until 1 if he's not in a meeting. So I communicated to him and let him know that, I may need extra help during lunch break. No problem. And so instead of the 10 o'clock, which I originally planned, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I changed it to 12 to 1. And then from there, they're taken care of from 1 to 3. So just really being able to recognize when something is not going according to plan, and not really getting down on myself, giving myself grace and giving myself the time to replan and just submit to what's going on. So I feel that that's really key. And communication is like number one.
Yes.
People, you have to make sure that you're letting your needs be known to those around you. And that's like number one on the list, is communication.
Because you mentioned I've asked my husband to help
Yes,
out. Because if you don't help out, we sometimes we tend to feel like, oh, no one's helping me. Here I
yes,
am, I'm doing it all on my own, right?
exactly.
But sometimes we have to ask because they don't know. But we don't.
Yes,
We kind of feel it like it's a trap that we put
yes.
ourselves, don't
Yeah,
we?
we put ourselves through it. We do. We're like, oh, well, don't they know? It's like, well,
Yeah,
no, they don't really know unless you actually explain
yeah.
or express what your needs are.
Yeah. Just like a kid, you have to ask.
Uh-huh.
You get when you ask.
You ask for. Or if you
Exactly.
don't ask, the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to go into with your son, how do you tell him that these changes are coming? Or he was in school but they had a special teacher, right? You said they had a good bond, and
Yes.
he doesn't see them anymore. Like, how do you like explain to him, like, it's hard, right?
It's very hard, and especially with him being nonverbal. My son, although his expressive language is not, up to par, his receptive language is pretty good.
Mhm.
So, I don't underestimate what he knows and understands. I always communicate to him as if I was communicating to anyone.
Yes.
And honestly, during this time, it's been a really tough year for my son,
Yes.
really, with transitions as a whole. Him having to come into a new life where, at 10 years old, he's 11 now, but at 10, he was used to being the baby.
Mm.
So now, he has his baby sister, and that took us some time for him to really, really accept her and, embrace her. It
Mm.
took months. And so now we're here with COVID, and boom, we have another situation where school was really his saving grace during that time. Him being able to go out and be away from her as she's a baby, she's crying and learning, getting used to this new life outside the womb. It was a challenge. So during COVID, I found myself, and currently I find myself really being a lot more uh, loving and hugging and cuddling. That's something that he likes, and being able to spend a little bit more intentional time with him to just let him know, like, things are changing, but you're still going to receive love.
Mhm.
You're still going to receive this love from me and from your sisters and from your dad. So that's really
Awesome.
what we've been
Yes.
doing in terms of
Awesome.
transitions.
How do you think, with the education part, during the lockdown, if it does continue, what did they actually help him? Like, did he actually go online to learn?
Yes, so they did provide instruction. They had a Google Classroom set up,
Okay.
and so the teacher would upload videos with instructions every day. And on 2 days a week, there was a live lesson. So on Wednesdays, there was a individualized live lesson. So it's just my son Richard and his teacher and his two assistants would come on, and they do a story and a lesson with maybe counting numbers and then a song. So that was just for Richard. And then on Fridays, they did a live lesson with the entire class, which was awesome because
Nice.
he was able to point to the friends that did actually show up. He would point to them, and he recognized that they were there. So it was interesting. It was a
Yeah.
lot better than I thought it would be, especially with the guided instruction that helped tremendously, versus
Yeah.
trying to figure it out on the spot on my own.
How did he hold his attention? It's no longer,
Yeah,
person, right? It's like a screen now, right? Like
yeah.
how did
Honestly, it was day to day.
Mhm.
He held his attention more often than not. However, there were days that came where he's like, I don't want anything to do with this computer. And on those days, we didn't have anything to do with it. We'll try to do something else, like maybe read books, or the gym teacher would put up lessons as well. So during those times, maybe we would do a gym activity, and I would just text the teacher and let her know he's not having it today. So they were very flexible considering the circumstances. But yes, there were times where he just wasn't feeling it. It was
Yeah.
just too much.
You just have to let him lead, right? Like
Yeah,
follow
absolutely.
his lead and honor
Yes,
that, right? For
yes,
sure, for sure. But you brought up an interesting point, which I want to ask you about, which is you said, you have your son who's diagnosed with autism, and then you have a child comes after that, right? He's
yes,
the youngest and he's the baby, and now there's a new baby. Like,
yes,
how did that, like, if there's a mom out there who's thinking like, I have a son now, should I have another baby? Is that going
yes,
to be okay? I want to give them some, experience
absolutely.
that you have. Can you
Yeah,
share?
absolutely. This was that time period
Yeah.
was very challenging, and it really helped to have people that I could go and talk to. Actually, his chiropractor has a son who was diagnosed with autism, and that was very helpful to me, them actually letting me know, honestly,
Mm,
it may be about 6 months
mhm.
before he adjusts. And knowing that someone else had gone through it and
Yes.
they come out on the other side was very helpful for me. And same thing with Richard. It was about, I would say, 4 to 5 months
Yeah.
before he started to come out of feeling. I believe that he went into a little bit of a depression
Oh.
and having high anxiety,
Mm,
but really just doing my best to be as loving as I could. Although at the beginning it was very challenging having a newborn, breastfeeding, and having three other people that I had to care for. So hands-on was so important, having family
mm,
and friends to come and help out. And once I was finally able to really get enough energy,
mm,
because there were some times where I just I didn't have it. And I
mhm.
felt really bad because I felt like my son needed more of me,
Yeah.
and even my daughter needed more of me, but I was drained.
Yeah.
And so really seeking out that support and communicating, letting people know, like, this is really a lot for me. I actually did type up a letter, and I let my community know, my friends and my family, that it was a lot, and I just needed extra help being that
Mm,
vulnerable to seek out that assistance. And so once I was able to get that energy back, I was able to plan time with my son, like specific time. I actually planned specific time with each family member, from my husband to my two daughters and my son. So when he would come home from school, that was our time. We would cook dinner together.
Mm.
So that became our thing. And still to this day, every mealtime, now it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he's there in the kitchen and we're cooking together. So that's his time. So really being able to, make sure that you're still able to at some point, because when you have the baby, I definitely don't discourage. I say, if you feel that you want your family to grow,
Yeah.
then you can plan as much as you can, but just embrace the situation and get help where you need it.
Yeah.
Ask for help. Don't be
Ask.
afraid to ask for help. You do not have to do this alone.
Yeah, exactly. Ask for help. And then I wanted to ask, how did he come around after 5 months? How did that look like? Did he was he like avoiding her in the beginning?
In the
Like,
beginning, yes. He would not. We had an upstairs, downstairs, and he would not come upstairs. When she was upstairs, he would stay at the bottom. We literally had to pick him up and carry him up the stairs, and he
mm,
had panic attacks,
oh,
which was very, very new. He'd never had any panic attacks before.
mm,
So that was pretty hard, but they're like best friends now.
yeah.
And so they play with each other. They feed off of each other's energy. They're like laughing and giggling and running after each other. So they definitely have a bond
Mm.
that we just had to work through. And now he sees her as, oh, that's my little buddy.
Mhm. And then he takes care of her. Like
He
he
takes
said.
care of her. He
So
takes
when he came around, like was it like you had to introduce? Like did
Oh
you have
yeah,
to play and
introduce constantly,
yeah.
just letting him know that we love her. This is your sister, and she loves you.
Mm,
Constantly saying how much she loved him, and it's
mm,
how she was so happy that he was here, and vice versa. Always, just I often say that to each of them, especially when they wake up in the morning. I'm so happy you're here. So
mm,
making sure that they know that they are important, and just gradually reintroducing her. This is your sister. She loves you. Oh, she's so glad. Oh, she wants to do this with you. She wants to read with you. So
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's so awesome. I'm
yeah.
so happy to hear that he's comfortable with her and
Oh my
they're
goodness.
buddies now. They're buddies forever. But I
Forever.
want forever. Yeah, that's what happens, right? But I also want to ask you, like you said that as you started making the schedule with him after school, now you guys are doing 3 meals.
3 meals.
Through
Yeah.
meals, you can teach a lot to your kids, right?
Yes.
Making meals with them, right?
Yes, oh my goodness. And at sometimes it's a family affair. Sometimes my eldest, she's now 14. She just turned 14. But now sometimes she'll lead and we'll come and we are her sous chefs.
Oh.
So being able to spend that time, that quality time with each other has definitely been a good thing for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then your little daughter is gonna join soon. She'll
Oh
be,
yeah.
she'll be.
In there too. She's in her bouncer and she's bouncing around while we are cooking and we have the music going. So we make it a fun time.
Yeah, and especially for him, like worksheets. Sometimes parents think that we have to teach it through worksheet, but not
Yeah,
necessarily. I
not
mean,
necessarily. There's so many ways
yeah,
to learn.
yeah,
There's many ways that even just going on scavenger hunts throughout the house, trying to find different items. Like there's so many different ways that you can implement your lesson plan in your everyday routine.
yes, yes. So you're gonna be considering more in the if the things don't change with uncertainty, more into the homeschooling and just keeping it stable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
For your
Yeah,
kids
for
because
sure.
this change is just not too much change is hard for them at
Yes.
this point, right?
Yes.
And for you as well, because then you have to adjust again and again, and
Again and again and again.
it's not easy.
I
Yeah.
mean, we just went through another adjustment, even just after homeschooling. It's a better adjustment because I don't have to necessarily meet the needs of the school system and making sure I'm on at a certain time. So it's a little bit more relaxed right now, but we're still, we have like an activity calendar that we're using to just do fun activities throughout the summer.
Very good. And this summit is just for, moms like you, like, how you felt frustrated, when you were working, like when I came home, all these things, and I couldn't be myself as a mom and working, right? Same right now is like, as an educator, I can see there's a gap between me wanting to, or someone wanting to try homeschool,
Yes,
and being a mom and dad, and we don't know what's the right thing. Like, if I step into it, is this gonna hurt my child, or is it going to be good for my child? All
exactly.
these questions, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose and the mission of the summit. So if this is curating that, as you said, in your business, right?
Yes.
You need to, it's all, everything is all over. Like, you can find so much information.
Yes.
Information is free now, right?
It
You
is.
can,
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere, but it's the time that
Yeah.
matters the most, how
Yeah.
fast you can get to it, and in the time that you need it.
Yes. Yes.
You don't have the shopping time, right? You can't shop around and that,
Right. We do something
lose
in
time.
one place, and it just makes it so much easier that way.
And you will find a lot of resources in here for you to, there's amazing speakers that have gone through homeschooling, and
Okay.
also experts in the area as well. So, you know, follow along in the summit, and you'll find a lot of information to make that decision for your family. And even if it's for 1 year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Feel
that's
safe.
what I said. Even if it is just for the first year, I think that this is the route that we're going to go either way, whether it's, guided lessons from the school, which that's what I'm hoping for, or if it's something that I have to go out and figure out how to do it on my own. This is their safety, my family's safety is most important to me at this time.
Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your experience. It's very, very important for parents to hear that, you don't have to struggle. Ask
Yes,
for help. And when you have a child that's unique, you
yes,
just have to find the way to work it out, right? It might take a while. It's
yes,
not going to be easy, in the first, right? It's a hard road, but you can do it.
you can
Just
do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Thank you so much for being
Yes.
here.